What does it take to change the world? An army? A kingdom? What if I told you it began with a single silent boy, born an orphan in the middle of a desert? A boy who would face loss after loss, yet whose character would become so pure, so trusted, that even his enemies called him the Truthful.
This Muhammad, even his enemies call him Truthful. Everyone admits he's Al-Amin.
This is not just a history lesson. This is the story of how the most influential man in history was forged.
He is not a true prophet. He is a false poet.
Long before the first revelation ever came. In the dusty tribal world of 6th century Arabia, a chain of miraculous events was quietly unfolding, setting the stage for a prophecy centuries old. It began with a grandfather's dream. Abd al-Muttalib, a respected leader of Mecca, was commanded in his sleep to dig. A mysterious figure pointed him to a lost treasure, the well of Zamzam, a sacred water source that had been buried for generations. When he finally unearthed it, water gushed forth, restoring life to the city. But this miracle was just the first sign. Abd al-Muttalib had made a vow to God. If he was successful, he would sacrifice one of his sons. When the time came to fulfill this terrifying promise, lots were drawn, and the arrow pointed to his youngest and most beloved son, Abdullah. Heartbroken but faithful, Abd al-Muttalib prepared for the sacrifice. But as he held the knife, the people of Mecca intervened. They proposed a ransom to draw lots between Abdullah and 10 camels. If the lot fell on Abdullah, they would add 10 more camels and repeat. The lot fell on Abdullah again and again, until the number of camels reached 100. Finally, at 100 camels, the lot fell on the animals. Abdullah's life was spared, and a divine law was set. The value of a human life was 100 camels. This was the first miracle surrounding the man who would become the father of Prophet Muhammad. Abdullah grew into a man known for his remarkable beauty and character. He married a noblewoman named Amina, but before his son was born, tragedy struck. Abdullah died on a trading journey, leaving Amina alone. The child who entered the world was already an orphan. The year was 570 CE, a year so significant it was known as the Year of the Elephant. Just before this birth, a tyrant from Yemen named Abraha, with a massive army, including a giant war elephant, marched to destroy the Kaaba in Mecca. But a miraculous event stopped him. The elephant refused to advance, and flocks of birds pelted the army with stones of clay, destroying them completely. The Kaaba was saved by a power greater than any army. The message was clear. God was protecting this city for a reason. Into this world of divine signs, the boy was born. His grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib, named him Muhammad, the praised one. The birth itself was surrounded by wonders. His mother, Amina, said she felt no pain. The child was born pure, already circumcised, and with his finger raised as if testifying to the oneness of God. On the night he was born, a light emanated from his mother that was so bright, it illuminated the palaces of far-off Syria. The droughts that had plagued Mecca ended, and the land turned green and fertile. The earth itself was celebrating. But peace was short-lived. When Muhammad was only 6, his mother, Amina, took him to visit his father's relatives in Medina. On the journey back, she fell ill and passed away. The boy, who had never known his father, was now completely alone in the world. His grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib took him in, cherishing him and often seating him in a place of honor near the Kaaba. But when Muhammad was 8, his grandfather also died. The weight of the world now fell on the small shoulders of an 8-year-old orphan. He was taken in by his uncle, Abu Talib. Though Abu Talib was not a rich man, he was kind and protective. He raised Muhammad with love and loyalty. As a young boy, Muhammad worked as a shepherd in the hills around Mecca. The solitude of the desert became his classroom. It was there he learned patience, empathy, and a deep connection to the natural world. He watched the sheep, and in the vast, silent expanse under the stars, his character was being shaped. When he was old enough, he began traveling with his uncle on trade caravans to Syria. He saw the wider world and learned the ways of business. But unlike many others, Muhammad carried the lessons of the desert into the marketplace of Mecca. In a city where trickery and greed were common, he stood out. He was scrupulously honest. He never lied, never cheated, and never broke a promise. His reputation grew until everyone knew him by a single name, Al-Amin, the trustworthy. People didn't just like him. They trusted him with their most valuable possessions. They knew that with Muhammad, their wealth and goods were safe. His character became his greatest asset. His integrity was so absolute that even the proud and often warring tribes of Mecca turned to him to settle their disputes. The greatest example came when the Kaaba needed rebuilding. A fierce argument broke out among the tribes over who would have the honor of placing the sacred black stone back into its wall. The situation was about to turn violent. They agreed to let the next person who entered the gate decide. That person was Muhammad. Upon hearing the problem, he had a brilliant solution. He spread his cloak on the ground, placed the black stone in the center, and had a chief from every tribe lift a corner of the cloak together. Then he himself placed the stone into its position. With wisdom and grace, he prevented a war. Everyone was satisfied. They saw in this young man a leader who could bring peace. This was the man at the age of 25, an orphan who had known nothing but loss, yet, through his own integrity, had earned the respect of an entire city. He was a man preparing for something, though he himself did not yet know what. He often felt a deep unease with the idolatry and injustice around him. He began to retreat to a cave in the mountains, the Cave of Hira, to meditate and search for the deeper truth he felt must exist. He would spend days and nights there, alone with his thoughts, praying in the way of his ancestor Abraham. The stage was set. The world was waiting. The trustworthy man was about to be entrusted with the greatest responsibility of all time. He sought truth in the silence of a cave. What he found there was a command that would echo through eternity. The first word was, read. What happened next? The revelation begins in our next story. If you want to know how Islam came to the world, then click on this video. See you there.